In this video, we will name the worst manager in the Premier League this season.
I don't know if I've actually met a United fan that has defended Amorim as much as you have, Dave.
All the stats from Portugal, so he's a good manager. That's what.
Good, yeah, no, good. Very great point. Sorry, who's your manager? Well, he sacked him last week.
That's a deep. Wait, you compare yourselves to West Brom?
Yeah, well, to be honest,
Is that how bad it's got?
we should be in the Championship next season, to be quite honest with what we've been doing.
Okay. What's happening, everyone, and welcome to WHFC, brought to you by Final One Standing, football's ultimate free-to-play eliminator game. On this episode, we're playing a game of Final One Standing to work out who has been the worst manager in the Premier League this season. Now, I already know who's ultimately going to win this, so make sure that you play the game correctly, okay?
I don't know who you're...
There is one standout worst manager in the league by a mile.
Dixie
but we're going to get there.
Currently?
We are going to... Yeah. No,
manager?
maybe not, but no spoilers.
Okay.
Where we're going to start, Andoni Iraola versus... This feels harsh to me, but versus Arne Slot. Anyone have any major...
It's Iraola by far.
Worse than Slot?
Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree with you, but I've rated Iraola highly, and I don't know if I've just been conditioned.
Why do you rate him highly?
Can I tell you why? Can I tell you why? When they play Chelsea, I do. Can I tell you why I don't think it's Iraola and I rate him so highly?
Yeah.
Because it's Bournemouth.
Right.
They are so insignificant. They shouldn't be a Premier League team, and yet they managed to compete. He's had his entire backline taken away from him.
You're thinking of them as the club they were 20 years ago, not the team they are now.
No, I'm thinking
they're a well-established Premier League team now.
Also, look at the cards he's dealt. They took his entire
True.
Last year. He lost a player to Real Madrid. He lost. Kepa Arrizabalaga went to Arsenal. Yeah. So you're looking at sending players to Real Madrid, players to Liverpool, players to Real Madrid, players to Arsenal, and PSG, right?
Yeah.
You're like, he's lost his entire back line to Champions League level clubs.
Yeah.
And they're still probably not going to go down. That almost makes him a geezer.
It was expected, right?
It's unreal.
But it is expected. You lose that quality and you're gone. The thing with Bournemouth this season, they're massive on Tyler Adams. Whenever he plays, they look really good. And when he doesn't play, they've not got a backup at all. Alex Scott's been playing there, and he's probably a number 10. He's a creative midfielder. Yeah. That's been one of their problems. I do think the Semenyo thing's going to be an issue for them as well when he joins Manchester City. Krupa Jr. is a good talent, but Semenyo has been doing it right this season. He's 9 goals, 3 assists. And I think you've got that. There is going to be a problem for Bournemouth, but I think Iraola's tactical ability to change things and the style's really good. And yeah, it's not winning games of football, which...
Yeah, you're not having it, Tom. I kind of agree with David.
Why do you think he's overrated?
End of last season, from February to the end of the season, they only won 3 games. That's with all those Champions League defenders he had. Just because it's Bournemouth and people don't really take notice of them, he gets away with all these winless runs. I don't get it.
Is it
why?
Is
a lot of draws.
So all those players he sold, those brilliant players he had last season, and they were still at the end of the season. I think Semenyo's carried them this season, so one player's basically helped them not be in the bottom 3. He has. Come on, Semenyo scored like 50% of like their goals, but
at the same time he's developed those players, right? So he's got to be from a player development.
I'm not saying
a good coach.
I'm not saying he's rubbish, but I just think he gets. Like, he was linked with the Man United job, and like all these jobs he gets linked with, I don't know why.
Because the style's right for the top
do you not think that's where he should be? Whenever a massive job comes available, like I'm talking like the biggest, people go Real Madrid's next manager.
Absolutely not. Never in a million years should he be anywhere near a top job.
I'm inclined.
He's not outperforming his level.
He's at Bournemouth, and with respect, like when they're going to lose players, or even the back end of last season, they don't have necessarily the depth to be able to bring in.
Do you know how much money Bournemouth spend on players? By the way, do you know how much Krupa Jr. was? He's a lot of. They're not some like minnow that don't spend money.
I'm not saying they're a minnow, but I think that you're being incredibly harsh.
I don't think I am. When you're winless in 9 and they're terrible. Winless in 9 against 2 of the worst teams in the league. They played at home as well. They couldn't even beat Burnley.
But they won't go down, and they won't go down, and they're Bournemouth.
They only won't go down because of how bad the 3 at the bottom are. That's the only reason they won't go down.
Okay, so if you were voting here, right, Arne Slot versus Iraola, who's had a worse season, who's been a worse manager? You think Slot?
Yeah, it's terrible.
I can't vote
for champions that spent over 400 million in the summer and has had a terrible season. It's been rotten for Liverpool. They lost at home to PSV 4-1. Like that's rubbish.
I think based on expectations, it is Slot.
Just based on expectations entirely.
I just think Iraola gets a free ride just because he's at a club that no one really pays attention to.
But there are so many factors as to why Liverpool have been so bad. I'm not saying that it's not all in Arne Slot, but you have to look, firstly, off the pitch stuff. I think when you also look at how many changes that they've had, all the players they've brought in, how involved was Arne Slot in those changes, you lose someone like Trent, Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, you look at Salah, completely off the boil as well. But the relationship that Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold had with each other, massive issue there as well. You look at someone like a Gravenberch and a McAllister, the two most important players probably at times for Liverpool, especially last season, engine room. Neither cog is turning, nothing's ticking. So I do agree that Arne Slot has been the biggest disappointment, I think, this season. But there's so many factors as to why Liverpool have been so crap.
Yeah, but that comes back to him, doesn't it?
On the pitch, especially, like they've looked so open in certain phases of the game where their team is disjoint. And
he's tried so many different formations, so many different personnel as well. But I think
but that's a man who's running out of ideas.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it's changes for the right reason. It's changes just to see if it's going to work.
The business was also. I don't. How involved do we think Arne Slot was in terms of the business? Do you really think he would have not wanted a centre back? That was probably the most important area for them.
It's not like they've gone and signed some like unknown talents. They've gone and signed the best players in the world, and they're worse.
Yeah, his responsibility was to get those players playing well, and he's fallen.
They're way worse. They're way worse.
Yeah, and.
Even when they win, they look bad.
In terms of what they were both set out to do, like we're comparing. In my opinion, we're comparing two very good managers here. Really, I kind of agree that it's not going well enough for either. But I also think both are good. But Iraola's objectives this year were to keep Bournemouth up, and I think he'll succeed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Do you reckon that's true?
I think with the players they lost, you can't. They can't be challenging for sure.
Survival is success for Bournemouth.
I think Bournemouth have higher expectations than that.
But they're mad if they did. Like
they
shouldn't. Like
Why? Bournemouth have been like a mid-table team like consistently for years now. I don't understand
there's
this.
a food chain to it. Like they've got 900 fans in the away end. Like they have to have realistic expectations to who they are.
What's that got to do with ability on the pitch? Brentford are 7th.
Yeah.
But they're a well-oiled machine.
So are Bournemouth.
Yeah, but I still think that Brentford's priority is survival. I still think
I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. But my point about that is Keith Andrews, no one would ever have in a discussion about Man United or Real Madrid.
No, that's true.
He's completely outperforming at Brentford. Iraola's not.
No, I suppose it's just newer. If Keith Andrews continues at this rate for
another season or two.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think Tom's right. He wouldn't be because it's not glamorous enough. There is a glamour to Iraola. There is a glamour to Iraola. Yeah. Okay, let's put it to the vote. Who has been worse this season? Is it Iraola or is it Arne Slot?
I think it's probably Arne Slot because of the expectation.
Slot.
It is.
You're going to say one.
Yeah, what were you going to say?
Do you know what? I struggle to say Slot because I think it is him and I'm going to have to vote for him. The reason I struggle, and I know this isn't really the debate, but the geezer won the league and I just always find it... I know.
That's a bit about now.
But it affects... Okay, fine. I'll go Slot, but it... Yeah. So Arne Slot versus Enzo Maresca. Enzo Maresca's now gone, but who had a worse time with it?
I think that's for you, Tom.
Yeah, I think it falls really.
I think if you look at objectives, I think someone brought objectives up when we were comparing the two previous managers. And I think it's a good angle, a good way of doing it. Maresca's objectives were probably still obtainable, whereas Arne Slot's objectives are already over.
Yeah.
So by that logic, if it is a good logic, I think it probably is. By that logic, Arne Slot had a worse time of it than Enzo Maresca. Yeah. I feel like we almost have to insulate any criticism from Maresca. Maresca deserves a courtesy to say that it's not really his fault. What he said about that rotation, the weight from above having an impact on rotating, effectively picking the team. Cole Palmer going off when we're drawing 2-2 with Bournemouth. Palmer fuming. Chelsea fans fuming. Chelsea fans telling Maresca, you don't know what you're doing. Maresca's gone, I don't want to take him off. But this is from above.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
What do Chelsea do now? Liam Rosenior's come in. Where do they go from this point?
Mate, we could put Liam Rosenior on this list. He hasn't managed the game
It's been decent at Strasbourg.
He's managed the game. He's 7th in the league. I don't know much about French football, but I had a look. Lens are top of the league.
Yeah,
they spent half of what
good, well-run club
Strasbourg spent.
So you're excited about his...
No, I think it's an absolute disgrace. It's an admission that Chelsea never ever want to win any major silverware ever again.
He's anywhere near that.
I can't believe it. It's bonkers. He could be on this list. He's the least... I've never known a manager be less deserving of getting a job than this situation.
I'd have half thought, I'd have him at the Albion. Genuinely.
But you might have gone. Actually, no.
Yeah,
you might.
I'd gone. Yeah, he did a decent job at Hull. Derby was all right. Yeah,
Mate, he was linked with Cardiff, right? He's linked with Cardiff, and there's a Cardiff fan who works with us. The Cardiff fan's gone, Don't really fancy him. A few weeks later, he's a Chelsea manager.
No, but
you
can't he's turned Strasbourg from a team that's fighting relegation to a team that's competing for Europe. Independent of the investment, independent of what's happened, they are a good football inside. They drew with PSG this season, a really good game of football.
Yeah. You'll know more about this than me, but they haven't won in 5 and 7.
I think he's a very, very talented young manager, but the Chelsea step is too fast. Yeah. There needs to be a Bournemouth, a Brighton, a Brentford in there, where there's a team to jump to, and then you take the Chelsea job. It feels very much like Chelsea are getting a guy that is good at working within the blue.
He's already a company man. They won't even need to give his bank details in. He's got them already.
It's an internal promotion he probably didn't really want. But Rory, realistically, what are the expectations then with him? Other than just now being a yes man, being told by the board, they're going to tell him what to do.
I don't think there are any expectations. Chelsea's expectations have always been to win the league and to win silverware. That's always been what we set out to do.
Not always.
For your lifetime. For your life.
I'm glad you said it.
Chelsea have always set out. Since say 1994, Chelsea's only objective was to win silverware. Fair.
Any comments on that, Tom?
It's 94.
Yeah, cup final defeat in 90.
You're finishing 10th.
We were in the cup final.
But your objective, that's
no, we were in the cup final.
That's by the by.
And the following season, 1994.
It's only since Abramovich you've become.
No, the objective.
Let's not play that one.
1990.
It's always been a big club, but no one denies that. But you're like an Everton.
Yeah.
Everton's objectives aren't to win trophies every year.
That's not quite who we were, though. We were in the Champions League when Abramovich bought us.
No, but you're on about 94.
But since 94, so we got into the cup final in 94, we got beat. The following season, we're in Europe, we get to the semi-final of Cup Winners' Cup. 1997, we win the FA Cup.
Right.
1998, we win 3 trophies, including beating Real Madrid in the Super Cup. This is all pre-Abramovich. Okay. So I'd say maybe 97, wherever you want to draw the line to win.
So Enzo Maresca, Rory.
Back to Enzo.
Since 94, we've tried to win silverware. I think that now the objective is no longer that. It's no longer to win silverware.
You've just won the Club World Cup.
One different manager.
That's the statement that this appointment makes. It's a change. It's a change.
However, when you appointed Enzo Maresca, right, from Leicester, that wasn't exactly the most inspiring thing, only because he came from the Pep school of thought.
No, it was a terrible. That wasn't an acceptable appointment really for Chelsea. That was a beginning of the normalising of the mediocrity that now exists at Stamford Bridge. But with Maresca, look, keeping this on track, Maresca versus Slot, I think that Maresca's objectives were give or take in hand. We were in the semi-finals we give or take in hand. We had some terrible performances. We had some terrible results. Losing at home to Sunderland, unacceptable. Losing Brighton, unacceptable. Man United beat us, you know what I mean? And you can kind of say that now. You can kind of go, we're losing away at Man United when we shouldn't have done.
It's got to be Slot.
Didn't Slot lose 9 out of 11 games? 9 out of 12 games?
Yeah. He was lucky to keep his job, really, wasn't he?
100%.
I think any other big club would have got rid of him, but Liverpool don't really run like that, do they?
No.
And also he had the league in the bag from.
Yeah, he had
credit in the bank.
Yeah.
A different ownership sack Slot this year.
100%.
Abramovich sack Slot.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Your current ownership.
But so Slot or Maresca, I'm staying Slot.
Yeah, Slot.
Okay, we're flying. Okay. Arne Slot versus Ange Postecoglou.
What a 31 days that was.
Harsh.
No.
I feel like it's harsh having him in for so little time.
No, you could be in if you have this detrimental impact on football. On football, not just on a football club. The geezer has conditioned people and brainwashed people into believing that he's a good manager. It's the most mental thing that's ever happened.
But he has won everywhere he's been.
Yeah,
is that not your definition of a good manager?
That is a very, very, very.
That was true.
It's totally papering over.
The only club he's never won at or won something is Forest, and he was there a month.
Yeah,
it's totally papering over the cracks.
Why is it though? He's won everywhere he's been.
Tottenham could have gone down,
but they didn't. They sacked the league off to win the Europa League, and it worked.
You're papering over the cracks massively.
I'm not.
Right? A bit. Also, can we just acknowledge? I'm never one to sneer at silverware, especially not European silverware. But I think we have to acknowledge what the Europa League is seen as because of what it's been for years and what it is now. There has been a huge shift when the Champions League clubs stopped dropping into it. Mm-hmm. It redefined the competition. You're looking at the semi-finalists, you're looking at the quarter-finalists.
It's irrelevant. They were in it and they won.
Yeah,
exactly.
They played Bodo Glimt in the semi-final, and you're going to try.
Which, by the way, you thought they'd lose.
Yeah.
I thought they'd lose every time they ran out when Ange Postecoglou was their manager.
Precisely, but they didn't.
No, I
Everyone
thought
said
they'd lose.
Bodo Glimt, that's a tough away game. They're so good at home.
I got one wrong. I got an awful lot right when I thought they'd get beat. Oh, didn't I?
Well,
If I thought they'd get beat every week, and you thought they'd win.
I said they'd win the Europa League at the start of the year, and they did.
Winning that competition doesn't paper over any cracks if you can just look slightly beyond the headline. They were a team in
But
utter disarray.
unfortunately, it does paper over the cracks because he won it. If he'd have lost it, then yeah.
Why did they sack him then?
Because he was terrible in the league.
And
He's a terrible manager.
Tottenham lost 22
You don't
times.
sack a good manager,
He's
do
a
you?
terrible manager.
They lost 22 games in the Premier League.
But what about the season before? He did a good
Finished
like.
fifth.
Did a good job for the first 10 games when nobody knew what he was
They
doing.
finished fifth. How can you play well for 10 games and finish fifth?
There are loads of conditions that led to that situation.
But there's loads of conditions that led to them finishing 17th. You can't play.
Yeah,
you can't
there's.
use one part and not the other.
No.
Do you think Tottenham were the 17th best team, 17th best team in the Premier League last season, just as a team? Do you think they were the 17th best? Do you
Yeah.
actually think that?
Yeah.
I actually agree with that.
That
yeah.
is, that's
As a
absolutely
Tottenham
bonkers.
fan, I
Yeah.
agree with that.
I think they
How
massively
can they win the Europa
underperformed.
League if
terrible.
they're
Hang
the
on,
fourth
right,
most
can I-
Because the
team in the
Europa
league?
League is not worth the paper.
No,
it's
no,
written on
no,
it.
no,
So
no.
Brentford- so
We're not
Brent-
having
so-
that.
can't do
We're not
that.
having
So
that.
No,
We're not
Look,
having that.
Brentford
there
have won the Europa League.
We're not
You
having
Brentford
that.
have won the Europa League last year.
I think any English team that's in it should win it. I really do. I think, and I don't say this with positivity. I don't like what's happened to the great clubs in Europe. I really don't. I don't like the fact that Brighton could beat Ajax. I don't like the fact that Brighton could beat Marseille. I don't like the fact that because
So harsh on
you've got
Brighton
big
when you've taken
prestigious
everything
football
from them.
clubs in Europe.
Who aren't very good at football at the minute.
Because of the riches of the Premier League.
So
every time an English club plays in Europe, we should
Forest
win.
will win it this year then.
They
yeah?
should. They
Palace.
won't because they're owned their owner, Mr. Marinakis and whatever.
Marin.
Mr. Marin. I'm sorry,
Mr.
brother. All that aside, there is a favourability to English clubs in Europe, and it isn't something I'm proud of. It isn't something that should be the case. So yeah, I think that Tottenham winning in Europe, of course they did. And so they should. If you look at the cost of that Tottenham squad and you look at what Tottenham are and you look at the money that sloshes disgustingly around the Premier League, of course Tottenham should be winning that competition.
Right, so if you want to talk about money then, all the money he spent in the summer slot, he should be 10 points clear at the top of the league then?
Yeah.
You sounded Dutch then. Did you do an impression?
I did.
That was really good.
In the summer
Virgil van
slot.
Dijk over here. Arne Slot.
I don't know what happened there. So
Yeah.
if you want to talk money, then this has to be slot, surely, in
You
your
want to talk
opinion.
money, look at Chelsea.
No. Postecoglou has been sacked.
Right.
He's therefore worse.
Slot probably should have been sacked.
But he wasn't.
But Ange did win the Europa League.
But he should,
So
won the
we can
league.
all- we can all play those sides.
Ange Postecoglou is honestly
I think this
one
is
of the
harsh
worst
for
managers
30
to have
days in charge.
ever managed in the
8
Premier
games.
League.
I just don't think that's true.
Loads of you watching would have played Final One standing already. In fact, over 500,000 players have taken part so far. And we are getting close to a pretty big milestone too. Fast approaching £1 million already given away. If you haven't had a go, now is the time. There's a new Final One standing jackpot every Premier League game week. And it's free to play, 18 plus, UK and Ireland only. Please gamble responsibly and terms and conditions do apply.
It's a weird one for me because I think that during his time at Spurs, that first season, yeah, it did start obviously really nicely and we was flying for a bit till we played you lot. And then after that, it was bad. But there were so many injuries across both seasons, like an insane amount of injuries. I think we had 16 players out at one point last year. So it's hard. It was hard to kind of judge him on that while he had so many different things. And I always kind of remain that I'll wait for the players to come back before I make a judgment. I think when you lose 22 times, the writing's on the wall. You have to go regardless of whether or not you win the league or not. But do I think that... I don't think Ange works in the Premier League because it's so open. But do I think that
It doesn't work on Hackney Marshes.
But
doesn't
I
work
think
anywhere.
I think it works if you are a super dominant team like
Yeah.
Celtic.
Yeah.
I think you have to be X
Yeah.
amount better than the league.
Yeah,
for it to
yeah,
work.
yeah.
100%.
Because it's so open and it's so the injury
Yeah.
things.
The best
Injury
players,
thing's a
yeah.
big thing.
It's a
because it
massive
can't be
thing
fair.
because you're playing at that intensity.
Yeah,
the whole
like, it doesn't
time.
work,
And what I
but-
would also say is the way in which that Tottenham won the Europa League is completely different to what you saw in the league. This is a man that was like, I'm going to live and die on that hill. I'm never going to change the way
he
that I
did.
play
He
football.
did in the
But
Europa
he
League.
did. He completely contradicts himself because in the Europa League he was ultra defensive, very, very tight, very compact, totally different way. So it's kind of annoyed me because actually, if you would have been a little bit more pragmatic at times in the Premier League, Spurs maybe wouldn't have lost 22 times, which is what frustrated me.
Also, can we not highlight the fact he was thrown into a team that play the complete opposite way
Yeah,
of
I
his
think that's
style?
a fair point.
He was given
Yeah.
Milenkovic as a centre-half to
Yeah,
play out
yeah.
from the back. That's a bit...
Complete opposite.
So
he should never have been appointed.
He
at
should
Norwich,
never have been
ever.
appointed, exactly.
Ever.
It's obviously because of the connection with the owner.
Which was always going to be a marriage made in
So
hell.
Ange, exactly, that was never ever going to fit,
No.
was it? The way he plays.
you know
Forest's
this-
whole blueprint was sit back, hit teams on the
Counter-attack.
counter.
Yeah.
That is
Where do
not
you
how
sit
Ange
on- where do you
plays.
sit on that
Defensive,
debate, though,
solid.
Tom? Where do you sit on the debate? You know, like obviously we could extend this to somebody like Ruben Amorim or whoever. This is how they play.
No,
so
I
you know,
hate it.
no. So for example, when you said there, and you were being quite generous to Postecoglou when you said that he went into a side like Forest where he had Milenkovic, and he therefore had to ask Milenkovic to play it from the back.
No,
Should his responsibility? It's his responsibility not to change.
I agree, but.
Okay.
I'm saying it's Forest's fault for appointing a man.
Yeah.
They knew he was going to do that. And he's given a set of players that cannot play that way. The only one who probably could is Gibbs White.
But at the same time, they did sign players like a Zinchenko to play that style. But like you're saying, it's you've got 16, 17 players that have played that way for so long, independent of how many players
successful players.
and been very, very successful. So the manager comes and say, "No, we've got to play high line."
You bring Ange in and go, Chris Wood's pressing for you. Oh, great. Like,
just didn't play, did he? And it was one of the best players.
But also,
in
you have
the-
to remember, Ange didn't start the season. He didn't exactly have he didn't have the window or anything like that.
Maybe that's
they
why he
started
should conform
with
to
Nuno.
what's like. He should walk into a club and see the players that he has at his disposal and go, right, this is the system that's going to work for them. Not you're going to dance to my tune.
That's the hardest thing in football, because you have to be philosophical at both sides. You have to be able to play possession out the back like Pep, but also you need to be able to sit deep like Nuno.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to coach both of those polar opposites at a high level.
Yeah.
It's basically impossible. You'd probably look at Ferguson, maybe the only person that's got to a point where he could do a lot of different things.
Just play the
He's one of
cards you
greatest of all
dealt. Be
time.
pragmatic in the way that Ancelotti or Antonio
But
Conte
again,
would be.
They're a different level of
Antonio
management,
Conte
right?
came into Chelsea and he looked around and he went, I'd like to play 4 at the back, and it didn't work. So he went to 3 at the back and we won the league. That's good management, right?
But that's a
one of
great
the best
manager.
managers ever.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
there's a level
just
to
using it as an example to
And
say,
also a great
play the
team.
cards you're dealt.
I agree. Ange did a terrible job at Forest.
Okay, but worse job than Arne Slot.
I don't know.
I'd still go on Slot on that.
I think I'd go Slot.
You are off your rocker.
Because Slot's not changed. The things that you've just said there. Be more pragmatic with Virgil van Dijk at the back. Change how they're playing. He's not.
Slot's
He-
fourth in,
he-
isn't
but he tried the same thing and they got smacked by.
Oh
PSG,
no, I would
PSV at
probably
home.
say that Ange at Forest is worse.
don't know.
That's a
Ange at
terrible
Forest
30
is up there with
31
like if
He
you
also
think,
went into a show.
Tom, think of the worst ever. So when you go to worst ever Premier League managers, you probably go off your top of your head. You
Les
go to
Reed.
the De Boer geezer at Palace,
Ronald.
right? Ronald De Boer, Frank, one of the.
Pepe Mel.
Yeah, whoever your Bruno Lage, whoever like the worst.
Vitor Pereira.
Yeah, whoever you get them both. Right, whoever your worst ever managerial memory is. This is that.
It's just not true.
It couldn't be more true.
He finished 5th in his first
Yeah,
season.
but we're not talking about that. We're talking about this at Forest.
Yeah.
We're talking about this
is-
specifically.
One rain. I mean, yeah, this is terrible.
Well, it's terrible 31 days.
This is worse. Like this is the winner of this competition.
Yeah.
Like we're going to continue, but this is the de facto winner. It can't be.
That's
anyone
worse
else.
than Slot
He's the
for me.
worst manager that I've ever seen. He will go
No,
down.
that's a bit far.
He will go down in history.
That's a bit far.
He will go down in history with De Boer.
You think he's
with
been,
Lage.
worse than Pereira has
Who was
been
it?
this
Who
season?
was it at Leicester?
Do you think he's been worse than Pereira has been this season for Wolves?
Yes. Yes, I do.
When he left Wolves, they were the worst team ever.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I think
Right,
he's been
that makes
so much worse.
Right.
I do. I think the Ange Postecoglou tenure will go down in history.
At Forest, yeah?
At Forest, yeah.
At Forest.
Specifically this season.
Yeah, specifically this season for Wolves, he left them on what? A point? Was it a point?
I think it was
He
2,
did
but
win a
then
game with
Ange
Forest.
got 2 draws
Yeah.
in that spell of 8 games.
Mate, I like Wolves. Especially when I'm sat opposite you. Big fan, big club.
Before Pereira.
Proper fans. Yeah,
Before
biggest club
before
in Black
Pereira,
Country.
when Pereira left, everyone had assigned them to beat Derby's record. Like
Yeah.
statistically, factually,
Yeah.
the worst team ever.
Yeah.
Ever. They spent about 120 million in the summer as well, like a lot of money.
Yeah.
right?
On garbage.
Kept their star player up front.
Yeah.
And you think that's a better job than what Ange did in 30 days?
Yes.
I think we got to put Pereira.
You can't take your Spurs bias aside. That's what your problem.
I just think Ange Postecoglou is a complete fraud.
He's not though, is he? 'Cause
He
he's won
did-
everywhere.
He actually did what he said he was going to do. It's true, though.
Let's vote. Slot or Postecoglou?
I think you might have convinced me. Actually, I might go out.
I think based on
Yeah,
the 30 days.
Ange, but I think we need to put Pereira into this.
I think you've
Possibly.
put
I
it.
think we need
Wait,
to.
we can.
I think
let's-
we need to do it,
we
'cause
keep going.
it's-
Mate,
but-
there'll be some time for you to freestyle.
Okay, that's
There'll
all
be
right,
some
thank
time.
you.
Ange Postecoglou versus Thomas Frank. It's very Tottenham. Abby, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, so many collections of terrible managers, aren't there? I mean, I don't actually think that Thomas Frank is a bad manager, by the way. I think that he's a decent enough manager. I just think he's way out of his depth.
Yeah,
and I think that
100%.
he doesn't remotely suit Tottenham.
100%.
He was never going to be my first choice, personally. I think, obviously, the expectation at Brentford, like we said about Bournemouth earlier, the expectation of a Bournemouth, a Brentford, a Brighton is going to be very different to
You
when...
get away with it as well. You
when
get
you're
away.
at Tottenham.
You can do 6 games without losing at Brentford.
Yeah.
That's an eyelid.
And
You can't do that at Spurs.
it's very, very different. You can't do that at Spurs. And I think after last season, finishing 17th, and obviously the only good thing about last season was obviously the Europa League, which did paper over. Well, it didn't even paper because everyone knew what it was realistically. But Spurs could not afford to have another season like that. And when you go and get a coach that's complete opposite, so incredibly pragmatic, which I thought we would go down a more pragmatic route. I didn't think it would be this pragmatic. And you look at and I want to call them performances. They're not performances.
You're so bad to
They're
watch.
so bad. They're so boring to watch.
You know when they got battered, they conceded 5 to Paris Saint-Germain. He comes out and goes, "We were great."
Yeah,
I like, you know.
Do you know the problem with these managers? Like, I even think Glasner's another one that I think people will be shocked at. It's okay with the teams in the middle of the pack to sit back, it teams on the
100%.
break. But do you know Spurs had less possession than Sunderland the other day at home?
Yeah.
Less possession than Sunderland at home.
That's so not
But
in keeping with who they are.
But let me
If you
tell
manage
you,
a big club, you can't come out at home and play like that.
But
it's
that
one-on-one.
performance, that first half performance was one of the better performances.
That's how bad it
That's
is.
how bad it is.
Yeah.
That was the first time I've really seen us move the ball forward in weeks.
Can
First
I
time I've
just
seen someone
put
show for
forward
a pass, take a
defence
shot.
here for Frank.
Go for it.
Sometimes, like, you know, when you're trying to find out why it's gone wrong, what's going on, you could be really complex about it. You can talk about philosophies or whatever else. But sometimes it's just like loads of players are injured. So their attack, Tottenham's attack, is totally impotent, and like, there's nobody there.
Correct.
And then you look at why. You look at the players that are unavailable: Kulusevski, Maddison, Solanke,
Kudos as well.
Kudus. They would all start. They would all elevate the front line. You know, when we were talking earlier about Postecoglou, you were quite generous to him about the injuries.
Yeah.
Is this not just a case of Thomas Frank finding his feet, trying to put right the nonsense that happened last season?
January.
I think.
Look at where they were.
January.
They could have gone down last year in terms of points tally. No, in terms of points tally.
No,
that's not Tom. In
Tom,
terms of points
genuinely,
tally.
They're going to go down with that.
Tom, genuinely.
In terms of points tally.
There was a time.
The bottom
that
three
it was
was
an.
shocking.
Yeah, bottom
No, there was a time where it was
Bottom three were
actually
awful.
concerned.
I think one of the big things with that is like Brentford, Brighton, the recruitment is so good.
Yeah.
The managers
Yeah.
almost have a head start on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like it's just sense. You look at Thiago, prime example. Tony went a few years ago. They bought Thiago. Thiago was injured for a year. This season, he's second top scorer in the Premier League. Right. Tottenham's recruitment has absolutely stunk.
Terrible.
In terms of like you've bought these weird players that don't mix, but one of the things that they've all got together is they don't feel like they've got personality for it. Like they don't have Thomas Frank personality you expect at Brentford, which is a team that he built with their technical staff. Now you're at a club where they want to play different football, they want to play attacking football, which, to be fair, they scored 66 goals last season, Brentford, which was more than Chelsea.
Yeah.
And Chelsea were sometimes. You
also
had
look at
Mbumo, you had
Yeah.
Vissa, you had. It was a lot of open play stuff as much as
Yeah,
set
and
piece apart.
they've lost Visser and Mbuma, and they're better.
Who would you rather to be your manager now? Postecoglou or Frank?
That's so easy.
Um,
So easy. You hate football if you say Thomas Frank.
I wasn't going to say Thomas Frank. I was probably going to say I just would like to say I didn't want to keep Ange. I didn't want to keep Ange because I think when you lose 22 times, just no. But I think I would rather have had Ange
100%.
than over Thomas Frank because, and I'll tell you what, because at least
He has a go.
he had a go, and I was happy for him to go after the Europa League. But then if someone would have said he's getting a third season, I probably would have been like, all right, he's probably going to get sacked in October, but I'll give it a go.
He did get sacked in October, I think.
Just by another club.
Yeah.
I would have. I can't get behind the style of football at Thomas Frank. Look, maybe he'll stay. Maybe one day it will turn good. I don't know. But at the moment, I'm bored.
Let's vote.
Frank.
Postecoglou.
Can I just pick neither? I'd rather not have either of
You
them.
can abstain.
I'll abstain. I'm going to
I
abstain.
think Frank has to progress. I have absolutely no time for Ange Postecoglou.
Do you have time?
None.
Do you have time for Thomas
But
Frank?
I think the Frank debate is more interesting. I kind of want to talk about Frank more, and I want to see how Frank progresses in
All
this, because Frank was seen as being the visionary. He was seen as like the noble appointment, the heir to the throne.
Vision.
Yeah, we've never seen a manager ever just sit back and hit teams on the counter. It's mad. I don't know.
Never happened.
Did you
It's almost like when Nuno got the Spurs job.
No, but
it
be
worked.
fair.
Weird how that's
Be fair now.
Crazy.
When Tottenham appointed Frank, with hindsight, it's different, of course. But when Thomas Frank was appointed by Tottenham, did you think it was a good appointment?
No.
Didn't you?
No.
I thought it was interesting if they did the right thing, but didn't do the right thing. So what's the point?
As a big
Right.
club, the Big Six, this is my whole argument with Amorim. The Big Six cannot have a style of play that dictates that you can have less possession at home than like a Sunderland. That cannot ever run.
But the point is, like,
At least Amorim was entertaining.
Are you a team that sits back, right? That can't happen.
No.
But if you're a team like Klopp's early doors Liverpool that pressed really high and was super aggressive and maybe they'll have 50 or 49% possession, but the style is fine. Like a little bit like Iraola, I think that's why he gets credit, is because the team is aggressive and there's an identity there.
What's hilarious is Frank's actually doing an identical job at Spurs than he did at Brentford. He's actually just doing the same.
He's turned Tottenham into Brentford.
That's just him.
Yeah.
But that can't run at Spurs.
I actually think we're worse than Brentford.
Well, look, Tom, you mentioned him there, Ruben Amorim. Naturally, his name's going to come up in this. Thomas Frank versus Ruben Amorim.
I think that's your flaw.
Dreadful, isn't it? Ruben Amorim, awful. Worst manager ever at Man United.
Do you want to apologise to me? Remember?
Yeah,
Do you
and me.
Do you remember what happened that day as
And
well?
me.
Do you remember when I told you that United would beat Liverpool and then they beat Liverpool? Crazy.
Wow.
You also told me
When's
a
the
lot of
Open
things.
Cup
You
on
also...
Next week.
Listen, these things happen in football. We've all been
Yeah.
there, some more than others. You did tell me...
The smile on
me
your
being
face,
the one.
crazy.
You did tell me
Yeah.
explicitly
Yeah.
that Ruben Amorim was going to win a Premier League title at Manchester
No,
United.
you didn't.
When did I say that?
Off the record or on it?
On
We're
it?
talking absolute waffle.
On
We
it.
need some VAR on that, and if I did, then fair play. Good balls. Good balls on that.
You know, I think the gulf in quality and class over the last 3 years, there's not enough to make up for that this season for sure. So or this summer.
Do you agree with a lot of that, Dave?
It's possible for United to finish above Arsenal. Possible.
Do you honestly... Is there a
It's
world where it could
possible.
happen? Yeah.
I'm not with Dave in terms of it's possible. I don't think it's possible yet. And I think the most important thing for them is will Amorim be able to knit it together?
What, a top half finish isn't possible?
No, that kind of thing. But I'm talking anything.
The variability is massive, right?
Yeah.
United could be relegated, but they could win the Premier League. Yeah. But I think that you look at Man United and you look at what's happened, it's independent of what happened to Ruben Amorim. There's other people at the club that should not be in their
You
job.
backed
either.
Amorim highly. You thought
Yeah,
he
for
was
sure.
the right
But
man, didn't you?
you get a guy in and he goes, right, we're going to play 3-4-3. We need these players for this system. And then in the summer, you buy 3 attackers. You buy a goalkeeper after 6 games. So you have Bayern in goal for 6 games, who concedes 11 goals in 6 games. He chucks it in 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Arsenal.
And then you go, oh, wait, we need a goalkeeper now. So we buy a goalkeeper for Ruben Amorim. So we've already lost 6 games of like a dodgy goalkeeper where there's Fulham, there's Arsenal game, could have been a draw. There's points on the board there. And then you get to just before the transfer window. You have a meeting 5 days before about targets. 5 days. Man United are in a state where they needed, in January the 1st, left wing back and a central midfielder comes in. That's what the club should do. They have a meeting 5 days before and it kicks off. Because he goes, we need more players, which is apparent at Man United. You need better players, better footballers. No, we don't want that. We're going to keep with the same. What do you do?
There are some.
What do you do?
There are some good footballers.
Get
at
on
the
with
club.
your job and shut up.
There are some good footballers at the club that aren't necessarily being used correctly. Bruno Fernandes playing very well, but playing very deep. Amad Diallo, one of your best players last year, is playing as a fullback.
They both played well. They have 2 of our best players this season.
But Amad Diallo's not a fullback.
Yeah, but he's a wing back, not a fullback.
He's not a wing back.
His best
He's
position.
been playing very well as a wing back.
Yeah, but in the way that Reece James has been playing very well as a central midfielder, but he's not a central midfielder.
But then the point of a footballer is to be able to play multiple positions in the
Well, the
game,
point of a
right?
maniger is to get the best out of the players that he's
you
provided
can't
with.
attack those two. You can attack many.
I think you
different
can. I think you can.
You can attack Luke Shaw. You
No,
can attack.
I think you can attack those two because they were Manchester United's best 2 players the previous season.
And they've been best 2 players this season with Brian and Bouma and Mateus.
But they've been
That's
played.
that's our best 4
But they've been
players.
played out of position. But players played better when they're played in their rightful position.
At the same time, the best thing
played,
United
like
this
Mane.
season, having watched United every single game, the best thing is Brian and Bouma and Amad Diallo combining together on the right hand side.
Yeah, they are good
That
together.
works within the system. That's the system. The left hand side, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing there. There's no left wing back. There's no consistency in that left attacker.
So are you protecting Amorim from the criticism here?
What is Amorim to do if the guy that's supposed to be in the same team as you, as a director of football should be, when he just go in, no, we're not gonna solve any of these problems that are. Everyone can see that. But everyone can see that if the ball goes to Dorgo on the left-hand side, there's not going to be quality in his delivery. Everyone can see that.
Being a
So if
Man
you go
United
into a
manager,
if you go into
you're
a
crying
season-
in a press conference.
If you go into a seat, cried. What are you on about?
Crying, he lost it, mate. It was
He called
Kevin
himself.
Keegan.
He called himself the manager.
He told which is
Sensational.
completely incorrect. Then he's telling other people at the club disrespectfully to do their job.
Rory, imagine you do a press conference, right? You wind someone up so much they pay you £10 million. I think it's a victory
Unreal.
for Ruben Amorim.
Such good business.
It's appalling that he in that moment where he totally lost it. It was a Rafael Benitez cracking up.
It already happened.
He
It happened
proved
on the Friday before.
He proved that he wasn't the man for the job in that moment.
The Friday before, it'd been done. It was over.
Right.
Before that press conference is over.
why is he crying
So why
in a
not
press
go out and
conference?
throw? Why not go out and call people out? Why
Look
not?
at Maresca was doing it. Said it was the worst 48 hours.
Exactly. He called
Sorry,
them out.
did I say that was acceptable?
No, but at the same time they're all doing it now. If you
Also,
want to leave the
Maresca-
job, all you have to do is do that.
Maresca didn't take his payoff.
No, he should have.
Would you take a payoff?
It's irrelevant.
Hang on, we're getting away from the actual discussion of a football manager. Like Amorim was still playing that bus driver in midfield, Ugarte.
Whilst Kobe Maino's sitting on the bench watching him play.
With Kobe Maino's been injured for the
Kobe Maino, he never played Maino. Let's say it's down to injury.
At the same time, when he's played this season, he's not been great.
But Dave, like I said to
Better than Ugarte.
last time, no massive club in Europe or the
And
world
like I said
should
to you, I gave you about four clubs that have done really well.
Sustained a back three, name them. With a sustained, for how long?
Inter Milan have been doing it for the past what? So
and what have they won? And what have they won?
They got to the Champions League final. They've won Serie A over and over again.
No, they haven't won Serie A over and over again.
So,
Napoli, the champions.
So Leverkusen, who won the Bundesliga and went unbeaten for like the entire season.
Bundesliga,
and they got to the Europa League final and they won the German Cup.
I said a top European club.
Yeah, but that is from your perspective. Like this hasn't been tried.
Yes,
they didn't commit to it.
Conte did it and then couldn't sustain it. It's not a sustainable formation for a top
Conte won
team.
the league back, we're talking 10, 15 years ago. The game has moved on from that point.
And no one plays
it. The positional game is very different.
Why doesn't Arteta play it?
Because Arteta did play it and then found success that kept him
in a better formation where he can dominate the ball better.
That kept him in the job to a point of he could change it, and the recruitment got to a point where now he's got probably the best right-hand side in European football with Ødegaard, Saka and Ben White. That takes time to get to that
But there has only been one Premier League winner in that system.
Correct.
Tells a story in 33 years.
Yeah. But it's only getting to a point where this is where it's starting to come. It's like I said to you last time, it's something that's apparent in youth football, has been apparent for 10 years. That will translate to the top game. And it has done with the likes of Xabi Alonso, who is Real Madrid manager. He did that playing a back five that was
Alonso
a possession-based
back at Madrid, does he?
He did at Leverkusen to get the job.
But he doesn't at Madrid.
I think we're going to get to a point where either he is sacked.
You can get away with it at Leverkusen. You can't at a top European club. This is the whole point. You're telling me he doesn't have the players to play his formation. So why is he playing it?
Yeah, but then at the same time, if you play another system and you're still not going to have the players.
How do you know he hasn't tried it?
Eric Ten Hag didn't have the players to play a 4-2-3-1. Because they didn't buy him a central midfielder.
So he shouldn't have played that.
But then what does Eric Ten Hag do then?
Play the formation that suits your players.
What suits Man United then? So we can't play back four.
Well, you play whatever. Gets Bruno Fernandes in his best position, Amad Diallo in his best position, Kobe Maino in his best position.
Where does Mbumo play?
You work the system out that gets them.
But then how?
Play Brian and Burma up front. The squad is a mess. That's what I mean. Play Brian and Burma up front.
The squad is a mess.
I'm not the manager.
The squad is a mess.
What I'm saying is,
my feedback.
Brian and Burma play up front. But you have to. What you don't do.
Nowhere. He can carry the water bottles.
The squad is like, it's a mess independent of how you look at it.
It's really not a mess, actually. You've got some really good players, Man United.
I don't think we have.
You really have. One of your best ones. One of your best ones been getting splinters in his arse all season. So I don't.
Who's again played enough time to? He played against Grimsby, was absolutely awful.
Oh my
Came on against
God.
Brentford, but didn't play very well.
You can't defend this. Come on, Dave. You can't think it's right for Kobe.
Like Ugarte.
Ugarte. Yeah, but he's only just started playing Ugarte because Bruno Fernandes was injured. He didn't play before. Every week he was playing Casemiro and Bruno, and that
worked. Even if you
back
Amorim, even if you do want to back Amorim, at some point you must concede that he made the odd mistake. And the least controversial thing to say is Kobe Maino should be playing.
You're talking about
that's the least controversial.
You're talking about things like you're talking about these things, right? So number one, he didn't play Aiden Heaven from the start. Aiden Heaven was very good last season at left centre half. Let me speak, yeah? So Aiden Heaven hasn't been played this season. That is a problem that Ruben Amorim made, right? He brought him in at the back last few games, been brilliant.
Yeah, he's been really
Looked
good.
very, very good. That's an issue, right? You look at the bench at times, Chidobe not on the bench, problem. You look at games against Everton, Shea Lacey was too late, Jack Fletcher was too late on the pitch. Look at other games where he's made wrong mistakes in terms of Man United as a club that is relying on youth. Youth isn't just Kobe Maino. Let's open up the rest of the team, the most successful under 18.
No, but Kobe Maino is an established top player that
he played for England in the Euros final.
Shea Lacey, no one knows he's good enough.
Maino wasn't available in that game. He was injured. So that's my point. So my point there is like you change the Stretford end by making those changes at home. Ruben Amorim didn't do that. It didn't integrate youth as a whole. Yeah, fine. He didn't play it in heaven. These are criticisms for it. You can't criticize him for not buying left wing back when he's not in control of transfers.
Do you think any other top manager in the world would keep 3 centre halves on the pitch 10 men at home to Everton?
But if you watch that game, I was at that game. It was basically at that point we had a left back at left centre back and a right back at right centre back, where basically they were playing as fullbacks. It was very attacking.
Why do you love this guy so much?
You are
it's like blind loyalty.
Yeah,
but it's like weird defence.
You can't look at what a manager.
I can't believe you've just defended the Everton game. I actually cannot believe you've.
I can't believe you defended Kobe Maino. For me, the Kobe Maino thing. The Kobe Maino thing is just non-negotiable. He scored a goal against Man City in a FA Cup final.
That has defended Amorim as much as you have.
Yeah,
All the stats from Portugal, so he's a good manager. That's what.
Good, yeah, no, good. Very great point. Sorry, who's your manager? Oh, you sacked him last week.
That's a deep. Wait, you compare yourselves to West Brom?
Yeah, well, to be honest,
Is that how bad it's got?
we should be in the Championship next season, to be quite honest with what we've been doing.
Okay, right, let's vote. Thomas Frank versus Ruben Amorim. Who's been worse this season?
Frank.
Amorim, I'd have said.
After all that, it's Thomas
No
Frank.
way.
Amorim's been. He's been better.
Yeah, and also
Amorim-
they were still on course to actually get probably some European football.
They're Man United.
Yeah, but they're not Man United anymore. We need to change our expectation of what Manchester United are.
Listen to what's happened to them this season under him. The Grimsby thing, absolute utter disgrace.
Yeah.
They haven't had they haven't had European football to contend with. They had no distraction, if you want to call it that, of European football.
Yeah.
They have been pitiful time and time again.
Scored the most goals.
Some of the performances.
We've played some good.
They are the
football.
best team to watch.
They dropped points to Wolverhampton Wanderers. They limped against West Ham United. They dropped points to somebody else dreadful.
Everton?
Wolves, Everton,
West Ham.
West Ham limping, Wolves, because of him, because of losing to Tottenham in a European final, by the way.
Yeah, but
should have been sacked that day.
Yeah, but you could say all these things, but since
Should have been sacked that day.
They literally brought him-
losing to Tottenham.
he
in a
literally
European,
said to them-
losing to Postecoglou in a European
He
final.
literally said to Man United, "Let me finish the season at Sporting and have me at the end." They pushed this through in November.
He should still be manager. Everyone should be sacked apart from Amorim. So this isn't Amorim's fault because he didn't want the job. He wanted the job 6 months later. He didn't get the job when he actually wanted the job. If they give him the job when he wanted, this is mental. This is mental. He was the manager of Manchester United. One of Manchester United's darkest day in a footballing conversation was losing to Tottenham in a European final. No, it isn't. Manchester United do not lose.
Yeah, but since
to
that day,
Tottenham in a European final.
You're talking about last season. Since that day, Man United are now far better than Spurs.
It's a really good point.
They are.
There's nothing
Manchester United are far better than
There's
Spurs.
nothing quantifiable about that yet.
Why?
There's nothing
They're on to
quantifiable.
I think the league table's pretty
It's nothing.
quantifiable.
It's not finished though, is it?
What?
It's not finished.
No, but we're not judging what's going to happen in the summer. We're judging this season. Amorim's done a better job at United this season.
Amorim should have been
Frank
sacked. When
hasn't.
you know when the Manchester United plane took off from Bilbao.
I don't like
they should have
Amorim.
left Amorim there in Bilbao. They go, you're not getting on the plane.
By the way, I agree. He also should have been sacked the night they lost to Grimsby. That isn't the argument. We're discussing who's been better this season.
And then he's cracked. He's proved to everyone that he was never good enough. And if you ever thought he was good enough to manage Man United,
Again,
you're
irrelevant
mental.
to the debate against Frank.
He's crying in a press conference.
But Rory, these are irrelevant arguments because Frank's even worse.
Yeah.
Nah, I just don't think. I just don't think he is.
I'm voting.
Frank
I'm
has
voting
achieved
Thomas
so
Frank.
much more in the Premier
Thomas
League.
Frank.
Frank has achieved so much more in the Premier League than Amorim.
What's he achieved?
What he did at Brentford is so much more.
And they're better now without him, with less players.
I just don't. I don't agree. But it doesn't matter anyway, does it? Amorim.
It's Frank.
It's Frank. It's Frank.
It's Frank.
Mental that Amorim got away with that, but it is what it is. There you have it. Thomas Frank has been the worst manager in the Premier League this season, and this episode's final one standing. But did we get it right? Let us know in the comments, and remember to click the link in the description to play Final One Standing. Thanks again for watching WHFC. If you want to watch us rank the greatest captains in Premier League history, click the video that's on screen now. And if you enjoy the show, then please do click subscribe to never miss an episode. This show was brought to you by William Hill. 18+, please gamble responsibly.